Aloha, cupcakes. Today I am working with the Domini-Quinn brush. This one is actually a Mack brush, and it is supposed to be very similar to that of the old Dominican brushes. Some of you who remember how the 80s worked know that those were they were Dominican squirrel hair brushes, and they had these horrible little plastic handles that just dissolved after a while. Like, they just kind of melted and just crumbled off, and just eventually one day you just didn't have one. So this one comes with a brass ferrule and a wooden handle so that you won't do that. Now, this is a brush that I haven't had a hold of in, I don't know the last time I had a Dominican brush was. It's been a while. Like, I may have crossed paths with one back in like 2010 or 2011, and I think that even that one, because of the plastic handle, didn't last. I was just excited to get to play with it for a little while, because it's something that a lot of the other brushes are copies of that. And I think this one, pulling lines with this one and seeing the way that they roll off the brush, the way that this one does, it's very familiar, even though I think I, as an artist, have grown to where I don't think I need that degree of accuracy anymore. I think this is a close comparable to the Mack series of the Mach 1 brushes, which eventually I will get to posting up a video about those. I've been using those things for basically since I couldn't get a Dominican anymore. So, forever. Now, this one does have the longer handle on it, and it's sharp and it's pointy at the end. So it is tucked into the palm of my hands, which, just so we're aware, I am 6'1". I weigh about 275 pounds currently. So I don't have small hands. So if you are not wearing double X gloves, you're probably going to want to trim this brush handle down a little bit, because it's, even for me, I'm still reaching out a few extra, about an extra inch and a half on this one. And while it's not the most awkward thing, it is an awkward thing. And it kind of messes with my accuracy a little bit. And I know, if I was to design my designs, and if I was to actually use guidelines like normal people do, this probably wouldn't be a problem. But I am working on the notion of not doing that. And yeah, I know, it's stressing me out sometimes when I have absolutely no idea where I'm going to go with some of these lines. I'm just going. Especially when I'm painting on something like this, because this is just a wooden board that's been hit with some spray paint and dribbled other garbage on here, because I'm just wasting paint on these things. Because all I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to see what I can get out of these brushes on some less than favorable surfaces. I mean, anybody can paint something that's on like clear, polished, and just like this beautiful piece of metal. Painting on garbage, however, that's a different strategy altogether. Now, this is a spot where I have to explain myself. I have a tendency to pull the brush away from myself, and I guess I'm painting upside down or backwards, or however you want to word that. And it is something that I include in every one of my tests because I want to see how comfortable I am with it. In this case, having the slightly longer handle makes it a little easier for me to do, and it makes it a little more steady for me. Should you paint backwards? Probably not. It's something I picked up a long time ago, and I don't know exactly where or when I started doing it, but I did. And it's been going on for a long time, and it's essentially the weirdest bad habit that I have as a pinstriper. Don't do it. Or do it, run with it, and see if it's fun for you. I don't know. Do whatever makes you happy, I guess. I don't know. I get criticized for it quite a bit, so I have to mention it. Just the same, it works for me, so... Here's another one where I pull it backwards. Yeah, just that part right there stresses me. I always freak out if I'm going to actually pull these right, or if I'm just going to flare out the brush. Especially with one of these brushes. See, these brushes are more geared towards doing straight lines than they are to pulling tight turns. And for a lot of the straight lining brushes, especially the older style straight lining brushes, I find it very difficult to pull that taper at the very end with any degree of consistency. It's always got like a little flare to it, or it has the opposite where it kind of tapers into a much sharper line. And I find myself having to retouch all of them. This one, it pulled the way it was supposed to this time. I'm going to try this a couple other ways and see if it does it again, but so far so good. Now, something I think that you should probably notice when I'm working with this brush, and then just some weather stuff going on here, because we're closer to the next to zero humidity this week. I think I want to say it was like 7% humidity while I was in the shop. So there's a lot more than just reducer going into my paint. And this is white, and it's Alpha 6 is white. So it's a little denser than any of the whites that I'm used to working with, especially comparative to like the urethanes. So it's its own struggle on top of being on an unfinished surface of who knows what paint this is. Well, actually, I do know what paint this is. I don't. I think some of this is rattle can, actually. You know, because I'm awesome like that. Super detailed, highly refined, doing all those things exactly how one would expect for a perfectionist to do. Side note, not a perfectionist. Like, I screw around with this stuff more than I do anything else just to see if I can make it work. But that's what keeps this fun for me. Like these brush videos, this has just been an experiment. Like, I had to learn how to film things to do these videos, because I watch other people's videos and I sit there and I just don't comprehend them. And I think it's also got a lot to do with I'm currently using a cinema camera along with a modified action camera to do this. And I know you're deeply concerned as we're working on a camera that I'm using. Even worse, I'm using a manual focus cinema lens on this one just because that weird blurry thing towards my elbow, I like being able to do it with the lens. I don't know why. I think it looks cool. Unfortunately, my modded camera doesn't do that. And that's going to be the next shot. You ready for it? You want to see it? And here we are with zero blur of any sort. Everything is sharp and pointy and crisp. I mean, I guess the angle, because I couldn't put a 5-pound camera directly above my workbench and shoot like this. I have to use something much lighter, and that's why we're doing that. And see, now you know. Knowing is half the battle. Now this right there, when I pull the line out, if you look really close, I drag the tip just a little bit off to the center just to make sure that I fill in that gap so I don't have to come back in and retouch that. It takes a lot of practice to get that little dip to just do its thing, but believe me when I say that it saves so much time when you're working on these things and you have, like, I don't know, weather constraints. Okay, remember when I said I was concerned as to whether or not I was going to pull that curve again? I didn't. Like, it's flared out too far and whatever. It's a junk panel anyways. Close enough. I used to have a sergeant when I was in the Army. He used to always say, good enough for government work. I never quite understood it, but I think that phrase applies here. Now, if there was a government agency that required a pinstriper, I will take on that challenge. I would like to pinstripe a tank. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just finish this one up real quick here. So, summary on this brush, if you're interested in getting one of these things, they're available through Mack's website. Coast Airbrush is where I actually got this one from. Right? Yeah, I got this one from Coast because I still support them, even though I live like 9 hours away and I can't just walk in there and max out credit cards like I used to. Also, don't do that. I mean, do that because they need the support, but it's just scary when you see that credit card statement. Like, what did I spend $800 on? So, oh, right, I bought a new air compressor. Good job, me. But this brush is probably available through a number of different chains. Honestly, I go straight to Coast Airbrush for pretty much everything because I'm lazy. Now, in terms of getting one, yes, do it. 100%. You should try one of these things out. I would love for people to actually know what it's like to use the old Dominican brushes, both because they're awesome and because they were a nightmare at the same time. But this is the closest we're going to get, I think. Now, the Mach 1s, which I'm probably going to, maybe I'll work on that one this week. The Mach 1 brush is the next comparable to this one, and I've been using them forever, but it's just because I'm used to it. They're not high up on my recommends, and this one I think I would recommend over the Mach 1. So if you catch me out in the real world using that brush, understand I'm still going to recommend you get this one, because this one's a lot more fun to play with. So until my next video, stay moist, my friends.